everybody. My name is Carrie. Thank you so much for being here. Today is November 15th, 2023, and I'm back from Houston. If you watched my last episode, I talked about a big trip I was getting ready to do, and I had the opportunity to go with my friend Jenny, who is a quilt pattern designer, and we drove to Houston, Texas to go to the International Quilt Market and Quilt Festival. And Quilt Market is the industry side of it. It is more of a trade show. You're making connections with fabric companies, machines like sewing machines and long arm machines, and there's notions, like there's all that stuff that people are trying to get like quilt shops to carry or whatever the deal is. So I got a chance to go with her, which was super exciting. And so this episode will probably be pretty heavy. Well, for sure, going to be pretty heavy in talking about that trip. I will put a timestamp in here when I start talking about my finished objects, and I have no knitting. If you watched last time, you heard me go through like, what am I going to bring? And I'm going to have this. I didn't do any knitting. I didn't do any crocheting. I brought my bag full of stuff, didn't bring my crochet hook, which I could have gone and bought one, but we were driving in a cargo van in downtown Houston, and everything takes a long time to get around. So we would look up something like, we need to go get groceries. Oh, this store's only 3.5 miles away. It takes you 30 minutes. So I wasn't going to do any extracurricular shopping, but, and I thought I would maybe knit or crochet while we were driving, but I did most of the day driving, and at night, by then I was tired and it was dark and I didn't want to put on a light. I needed to help watch for animals and stuff like that. So I didn't get any knitting done. Maybe a couple rows on something, but really nothing. But I had a wonderful time. It was exhausting. It was fun. It was a great experience. I would do it again. I didn't like being gone for 3 weeks. Couple of weeks was good. And then I was like, I'm done. I mean, not done, but like I was ready to go home and see Jim and, our dog, all that kind of stuff. And then we still had another week to go. So the drive home, we drove pretty long days to get home as quickly as we could. So it was great. She did really well. She made some really great contacts, had a really good show, and so that was exciting to see. I do have some pictures and some video and stuff like that I took as best as I could. Once the show was underway, I was busy in the booth, and Jenny would take off to go make a contact with somebody, and I would stay in the booth. And I would help people like quilt shops and things like that people that would come through and either want to order stuff, purchase stuff, whatever it was. I was like the booth person. So, and I was fine with that. I was reluctant when I first told her I would go, and even just thinking about going, I was a little reluctant because I'm not a salesperson. It makes me very uncomfortable, but I got into it. I had a lot of fun doing that. Because I wasn't pressuring anybody. I truly believe in her pattern. She writes a really, really good quilt pattern. And so it was easy for me to talk about it and tell people about it. And that's really all I did was like, hey, I think I know I'm pretty observant, and I would notice somebody maybe talking about something and be like, hey, this is what this is, or this is similar, whatever it was. And so we did really well. It felt really good to get home. And I took some naps. It took a few days to sort of feel like I was back in a normal schedule. But I want to share with you what that all was. So it took us, we had a show in Washington over the first weekend, and Sunday we left and drove as far as Missoula, Montana. And unfortunately, we were going up and over the mountains at night, so I couldn't see anything. And I know it's gorgeous, and I was just super excited about seeing the mountains and all that stuff, and it was dark, and I couldn't see anything. It was kind of rainy. The next morning we get up. I got as far as Missoula. Next morning we get up, and, we get going over some more mountains, and it's raining, and we got high enough that we were in the clouds, and I still couldn't see anything. So we crossed the Continental Divide in the clouds, which, I guess that's something. I loved the drive. I just love to see things, and Montana was gorgeous because it had started to be fall, and here in Oregon, when I left, it wasn't quite showing the autumn colors and stuff, but when we got into Montana, it was, and so it was just beautiful. The roadkill in Montana is a black bear, evidently, because I saw a couple of dead black bear on the side of the road. Glad it wasn't me hitting them. We didn't hit any animals. We got close one time, but we didn't hit anything. And like I said, I did most of the day driving because my friend Jenny was still working. And so she sat in the passenger seat, worked on her laptop using like her cell hotspot. And so depending on how good the reception was for her, depended on how long she worked. And it seemed like most of the time she worked till we were about ready to stop for some dinner. So we stopped along the way to go potty, and everything was just quick stops. We never felt unsafe, so that was always good. We were driving through Wyoming and still heading south, and Jenny was in the driver's seat, and I look over to talk to her, and way off in the distance, I can see this like clump of mountains, and I knew they were big because they were far away, and it's flat, so you can see a long way, not like you can here in Western Oregon. And I'm like, what is that? So I get on the map and I'm looking like what would be directly east of us, and it was the mountains that Mount Rushmore is on. I could see it from Wyoming all the way over to South Dakota, so that was pretty cool. You couldn't see the faces that are dug into the mountain, but you could see the mountains, and that was kind of cool. Like, I love that kind of stuff. It just made me want to do a road trip with Jim. Like, we would have gone, hey, we got to go see that. Let's find out, the road to get over there, that kind of stuff. Jenny and I were on a mission. We were going to a specific thing. But I just saw some beautiful stuff, and it can be considered not pretty in those flat areas, but you can see so much sky that if there were storms brewing, which there was, the sky just like off in the distance, you can see the storm and you can tell it's raining over here or snowing or whatever it's doing. And it was just really cool. So we were going through, I think it was Texas, like the northern part of Texas at night. And Jenny was driving and we're chatting, and I don't fall asleep in the car. I just am not somebody that can do that. And so I was awake and helping her watch for animals and stuff. And it's pitch dark because you're going through areas that have no city lights or anything. And all of a sudden, on the very edge of our headlights, I saw a deer in the road, and it was broadside. It was a buck with, a good rack on it and stuff. And I was just like, there's a deer in the road. And she just slams on the brakes. All of our car went, you're sort of like, is anything going to hit me? And the deer just sort of looked at us and was like, and walked off, and we were just like, are you okay? Yeah, are you okay? All right, let's keep going. Like, well, we saw a live deer. So luckily, between the two of us, our reactions were quick enough that we didn't hit anything, which was a thankful thing. You do see lots of roadkill, which makes you more aware because that's an area that has, a lot of animals crossing. We saw lots of antelope. And so that's a lot of what we saw as we got further south. So then we get to Houston's an impressive city for the size. When we first got into where we were kind of like getting into where Houston was, the downtown area, and you see like this downtown area, but it went forever. It's not just like, here's the downtown area. The downtown goes a long ways because it's just so flat and they can just keep building, and it's big. It was very humid. It was raining when we got there, and we were going to go set up the following day. So we got there on a Thursday. No, when did we get there? I think we got there on a Thursday. Thursday was setup day. So got to our Airbnb. We were sharing the Airbnb with a couple other ladies that have a quilt shop in Vancouver, Washington. And so we got all set up and, hauled all our stuff in and did all that. And then the next day, it's pouring down rain. It's like 90% humidity. It wasn't that it was so hot, because it was maybe 85-ish or something. It's just that humidity. I don't know how people do it. I guess you get used to it, but holy cow, it was humid. Like so humid, you would go from the air-conditioned building, walk outside, and your glasses fog up. Like every single time we walked outside, whether we got out of the car, went into a store and came out, our glasses would fog up. The outside of the van, the windows would be foggy because there was so much condensation. It was just so heavy. So you're hauling and shucking like boxes and you're just moving. Everything's just going, and we were just dripping with sweat. But got everything set up. It was really fun to see this. We were in a convention center, which was huge. And just to see kind of the behind the scenes of how people were getting set up. And I think actually I'm going to put in a video right here of kind of my first walk through the space. And, you know, things weren't set up yet. Big crates, like the bigger companies had just big crates trucked in. And so they had to still disassemble and put their stuff up. So it was pretty interesting. So I'll pop that in here. So once we got set up, we had a chance to kind of walk around a little bit and just sort of see things, but people were still setting up, so we couldn't really do a whole lot. The next day was the opening day of market. And so that's just industry people. And what did we do? Friday was still kind of setting up because the bigger booths, they need extra time. I mean, they're talking long arm companies that have brought in several long arms, and Moda, who is a big manufacturer of fabric, had a huge area. And on Friday evening is a thing called Sample Spree, and you have to pay to get in. So Jenny paid for us to get in, and people wait in line for hours before it starts so that you can kind of like get in. And the idea started, I don't know, however many years ago, that fabric companies would have whatever their lines would be that would be coming out, say in the spring. You have them there at the fall show. And then so quilt shops could get fabric to make quilts out of the new lines. And then when the new lines came out, they had quilts to display in their shops. So you have a sample. That's how it started. It's turned into a Black Friday frenzy. So I kept getting warned by people, be prepared. This is like Black Friday on steroids, which I don't do Black Friday because I don't want to do that. But I thought I need to experience this at least once. So we had some stuff to do, and I said, I'll go wait in line. I waited in line at about 4:30, 4:45, and it didn't start till 7. So I got to chatting with people, and there's people there from the UK and from all different states, and somebody there from Scotland that I was standing close to, and just got to know people. Just, you're sitting there for 2 hours. Like, what else are you going to do? And everybody kept saying, okay, this is like a big deal, you know? Okay. So they give you wristbands and they open the doors and it's like, okay, go ahead. And everybody, and it's a lot of people. So I was in line fairly close to the front, and the line was 3 lines deep, like way, way, way back. And it's just this mad shove into these doors. Like, they only open 2 doors, and it's like you literally are just kind of going, I've got my wristband, like, and I'm just laughing because this is so ridiculous. And everybody, I have to say, was super nice. So you had people pushing and shoving, but apologizing. So nobody was being a jerk. And so it was okay. Here's a picture of us getting squeezed through the door. And so we go in and people just start running. And most people are going to the Moda tables because Moda is the biggest manufacturer of fabric. And everybody wants those. And so you can get like fat quarter bundles. I think mostly what they had was fat quarter bundles. And you're literally like, excuse me, I want to get that. And, you know, people are, excuse me, and can you hand me that? And you're passing things over. It was crazy. So I was part of it to just experience it, and I'd pick up some fabric and I'm like, I think it's pretty, but I don't know what I would make with it. And I don't know what, you know, you're just seeing the edge of the folded fabric. And I'm just like, I don't need it that badly. And I would just put it back and somebody's like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And they'd grab it, you know? So my big purchase, I have tables of fabric that I had choices with, and I picked solids. Because I'm like, well, I always know I can do something with a solid. This was a really pretty palette. So this is Moda Bella Solids, and this is Comfy or something. What is it called? Cozy Bella Solids. So who knows? But I'm like, really, I come to where you could buy any kind of fabric, and I buy solids. I like working with solids, and I like working with things that read a solid. I don't like big prints. So I did that, and I thought, okay, I need to back off of this craziness. I had my experience. I was helping Jenny get stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to look around and see who else is here. So there's thread companies and smaller fabric manufacturers, and I came across Cherrywood. I have talked about Cherrywood before, and Cherrywood does fabric. They do solids, but they look more hand dyed, and their colors are just so yummy. And every year they put out a challenge, and it's called the Cherrywood Challenge, and they'll pick a topic, and then they'll sell fabric that would go with that topic. So like the quilts that we're showing at that show was their Monarch theme, and I'll show you, you'll see video of that later. So everything was like orange and black and green, and like anything that went with a monarch. And when we were in Sisters this summer, we saw the exhibit that was graffiti, and so it was kind of rainbow and gray, and you know, so, and then you make a 20-inch little quilt using their fabrics based on their theme. And so they hadn't announced what the next year's theme was going to be, and it's poppy. I show this on my Instagram. So it's poppy, and I have all these like really pretty reddish, oranges, gray, couple of grays, like a dark and a light, and then 2 different greens. And I also got their little card, some thread, a little sample of fusibles in there. So if you're interested, they do have this on their website. This is a fat quarter pack. They have half yard packs and 1 yard packs, I think. So it is the 9th year of doing a challenge. You make a 20-inch square. It's due May 15th. You pay to enter. And you make however you interpret the theme poppy. So I thought, well, I love a challenge, and I love working within parameters. So I feel like I could do it. Nothing is popping up at me yet. But I have a couple of ideas, and we'll see if I can or what I can come up with. It doesn't matter the technique you use. You can piece it, applique it, whatever, but it's got to be within that 20-inch parameter, and you even are limited to using their fabric, these colors, for the binding. The only thing you can add is a different color backing. So we'll see. I have until May 15th. Sorry, UPS is delivering something? Oh, Amazon. I must be getting something from Amazon. What a shock. So that was pretty exciting. I was done I'm like, we've already like been putting our booth together and did this. I've been standing in line for 2 hours, 3 hours. And it was like, okay, that was great. We were done. Jenny got a whole bunch of fabric because she'll design new patterns and use this fabric to design patterns. So then it was just the show. And like I said, I stayed in the booth the majority of the time because Jenny needed the option to go and make her contacts that she needed to make, which was fine. I was fine doing that. I was enjoying watching her, and I got into it, and I was enjoying it. Everybody was really nice. I have to say, everybody we came across, whether it was the custodian in the bathroom, to somebody serving you food, or the Starbucks barista, like, everybody was just really nice. And that was such a relief, because people can be jerks, and we didn't come across that at all. And getting gas, like, anywhere we went, everybody was very pleasant, so that was nice. I did get a couple of samples, like somebody came by and gave us some thread. So this is like, here's our thread, try it and see if you like it, and then you can buy it from us. So this is Floriani. It looks like it's a polyester or rayon thread. I thought, well, I said, does it work in a long arm? They're like, yeah, it works great. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And then Connecting Threads was there, and they gave a little pack of, what is this, like 2.5 inch squares. So I got a little pack of that and a little spool of thread. They are having a sale. If you're interested, you can get 25% off online. Use True Colors. They were handing these out. Those were all the like samples I got. Then I got a chance, like, the market was stayed open till Monday. So by Sunday afternoon, things were kind of dying down. Monday was a lot slower. And so then I had the opportunity to go look at the quilts and stuff. And I did show some of it on my Instagram. I will put some pictures in. I've got a sneeze. I will put some pictures in of some quilts. And the area that the quilts were in was huge. So the quilts were displayed in a lot of space, which was nice because you get a lot of people, and it's, you don't want to be super crowded. The fact that I got to go during market, there was maybe 2 or 3 other people that were looking at the quilts. So it felt like you were in a library or a museum. It was really quiet, and you just had all these beautiful quilts. And I just was like, I did a pretty quick walkthrough, and just really went to things that caught my eye. I didn't walk through and look at all the descriptions. I was like, okay, I've got a little bit of time. Let me go do this. And so then I called my friend Chip from Fiber Hustle. I'm like, you want to walk through with me? And so I had him on my phone, and we were walking through and talking about what we were seeing, and that was really fun. And I got to show him kind of what market looked like, as best as I could. And it was fun to walk through with somebody that can appreciate and has a similar aesthetic as you do. So that was really cool. So I'm going to put some of the quilts in here, and then I think I'll put some more at the end so I don't like plug that all up. So like I said, I'm going to put some at the end, but I did get to do some shopping. So then, okay, market's over. Wow, that was great. It's closed. now it's going to shift into what they call festival, and festivals open to the public. So we didn't have to move our booth. We were able to stay where we were. But like the big fabric companies, they don't need a booth. They don't sell to retail like that. They only sell to shops and people that sell fabric. So they had to take down their massive area, and other big companies, like some, I think maybe some long arm companies left. I'm not really sure. I can't really remember. Most of the bigger fabric companies left. So we had Halloween day off and half of the next day. So we drove to Galveston, Texas, which is an island on the Gulf, and we're like, let's go there as a day off of just not doing the show stuff. And so it's such a cute town. I mean, it's got some rich history, and so that was really cool to see some of the more historical looking homes, because anything like, say, east of the Rockies is way older than the West. So we don't have things that are that old, like the stuff was pretty old, and it just looked cool. We walked through the Railroad Museum. We went into a witchcraft store, which was really cool, that sold all kinds of books and crystals and that kind of thing. Talked to some people at a coffee shop, and we were wanting to hit some antique stores, but it was like, everybody's closed. Do they just close early? And he goes, well, there's this big motorcycle event that's happening this weekend. And so a lot of the businesses, because there's just no business for shopping, will just close down. And so we thought, well, we got here just in time. And so we just enjoyed, had a really great Mexican late lunch, and just, we're on the ocean, and it's different because we're used to the Pacific coast, the Pacific Ocean, and we were on the Gulf of Mexico. It was really cold the day we got there. It was windy and only probably in the upper 40s, so it was pretty chilly. And so we didn't spend a whole lot of time on the beach, but we did drive around some and then just relax. Let's just chill out, watch some TV, kind of have a down day. And the next day we had to go back to Houston, and it's about an hour and a half drive, so it wasn't too far. And there is a big thing called Moody Gardens. So Moody is the last name of a financier that was pretty much owned Galveston back in the 1800s or something. So a lot of things are named after him. And they have an aquarium, they have a rainforest exhibit, and then they had another museum type thing. And I'm like, I'd really love to go to the aquarium. I think it would be really cool. So we went and did that, and it was so fun because there was hardly anybody in there, because we're there on a Wednesday, the day after after Halloween, so nobody's there. And we just enjoyed. We were like two little kids, oh, look at the jellyfish, and we got to pet some stingrays, and sit there and listen to the talk about penguins, and it was just so fun. Came back to Houston. We had to get into the festival side of it. So Wednesday night was preview night. So people that were taking classes had access to come to the booths in the show. So that kicked off that whole part of it. And we were really busy. We were busy that Wednesday evening, Thursday, Friday, super busy. I got to run to the bathroom. Are you okay for a little bit? Kind of a busy. And so it was exciting and fun. And then Saturday, the energy was just different. It was a younger crowd. It was more of people in their 40s, 50s, with some children, that kind of thing. So their pocketbooks weren't the same as the older people that were ready to spend. But we stayed busy enough, but it gave me an opportunity to go see some of the booths, because a lot of the booths changed. You get Moda out of there, who's taking up a huge footprint, and now there's all new booths and vendors in there. So there's people selling a lot of quilt related things that go to your sewing machine. There's people selling super fancy lotion. A couple booths down, it was somebody with a vibrating pillow for $50. People were buying a pillow that you sit against and it just sits there and vibrates you. And I'm like, that's not doing anything for me. But people, they were selling the crap out of those. So there was just all that kind of stuff. And so, walking around that big area was hard after I'd been standing for days, and my hip was, getting kind of sore. I walked around a little bit and then I'd go back to the booth and I'm like, okay, let me go to the other side. But, you're covering a lot of ground. It was just a lot of running around. So I did purchase a few things. I purchased one thing. I purchased one thing. I was good. So what I did get is, this is a needle punch kit that uses cotton yarn, and the yarn looks like it's fingering weight, and you can make this pillow. I probably won't make a pillow, but I'll probably make it into some sort of wall hanging. And then I thought, I do have a punch, but I want to make sure I have a punch that's going to work. And they also sold the punch that has different needle heads on it so that you can use it for different thicknesses of yarn or floss or whatever you're going to use. So that I purchased from Midway Wools, and they had a really cute booth. They had a lot of needle punch stuff, and they had like wool applique and that sort of thing. So I was pretty excited about that. That was my big purchase, besides the fabric that I got. So I got my little fat quarter bundle, and they gave me this giant tote bag. So I have a really big tote bag for like a blanket or something if I need it. I did hear the guys when it was starting to clear out, and Moda had pretty much sold everything. I think there was only a couple of fat quarter towers on the table. And there's a couple of workers were kind of talking over us, and he's like, we're over 30,000. The guy goes, 22 minutes. That shows you the craziness. They sold over $30,000 of product in 22 minutes. Crazy, but fun. Now I don't need to do that. Like if I go back, I don't need to do that again. I probably will, but I don't need to. I didn't need to do it this time either. So yeah, we finished off the show. It was really good, and we packed up, and the weather cooled off and wasn't as humid, so that was nice. But the last day got really humid again, and we had to pack out. And then it's like show's over, and it is a mad dash. Everybody's leaving. Like when you're setting up, people are kind of coming throughout the day. Everybody's leaving at the same time. So it's mayhem. And we just started packing up. You can't pack up before they say the show's closed. It's like against the rules. So we couldn't pre-pack, but we started packing and just schlepping stuff out to the van. Our friends that were with the quilt shop, we carried a lot of their stuff, or drove a lot of their stuff. We had to get them packed up, and then we headed out. And it's like, let's just at least get some hours under our belt tonight to just like at least start the trip. So we drove for probably close to 5 hours, and we were still in Texas because Texas is so huge. Stop somewhere. We would just be like, okay, the next town that has a hotel, I'd be on my phone, is this. Do you think we could go for another like hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it is? And be like, yeah, I think we're good. And then I'd make a reservation and get us in. We just stayed at like Comfort Inns and Holiday Inn Express, and nothing expensive. But basically like service breakfast, have a clean, comfortable room, and we're gone in the morning. Get up, drive the next day. So we got to somewhere in Texas. The next day we got as far as Laramie, Wyoming. So that was a long haul. That day I drove a lot because going through Colorado, Jenny had really bad cell reception. And even like we were streaming music and stuff, and that would cut out. So in Colorado, on the east side of Colorado, it has really crappy cell service, in case you want to know. There's nothing out there. It's flat. It's just as flat as Texas and Oklahoma. It's all flat. So got through that, got as far as Laramie, Wyoming, cute little town. Didn't see a whole lot because we got in at dark and left first thing in the morning. And then we started heading to Oregon. And it started snowing on us in the mountains, which made everything look really cool because everything had this dusting of snow. And it was just so pretty. It wasn't sticking on the road, so we weren't in any danger. It wasn't icy or anything like that. But it was just like, oh my gosh, it's snowing, And then into parts of Utah, it was snowing. And Utah's pretty too. Same kind of thing. You're getting like those big rocky formations and stuff. And we drove a long, long day that day because there was the possibility of having some freezing temperatures in the eastern part of Oregon, and we had to come down what's called Cabbage Hill or Dead Man's Pass. I like Cabbage Hill because Dead Man's Pass sounds too ominous, but it's a steep pass. It goes down like that. You don't want to be on it when it's slippery. Jim and I have been on it in the past where we've seen a semi truck down the side of the hill, just a 2-lane down the thing. It's like if we push it and at least get on the other side of that way if it freezes, we're good. So that was almost 1,000-mile day. We drove a long time. The very bottom of this is a casino. We're like, we'll just stay at the casino. Usually have cheap prices and stuff, and that's the closest thing. And so we got there, schlep our stuff in, and they're like, we are full. And we're like, we never even thought to make a reservation here. Like, we've been making reservations along the way, the whole way. And we just did it for there because we thought, there's going to, she goes, there's a poker tournament for the next couple of weeks. And we're like, oh, okay. She goes, oh, wait a minute. Somebody just canceled. Do you want this room? We're like, yeah. So we're like, our luck. Okay, it's lucky. So I don't know if they just tell people that to make you think like you're lucky so that you'll go and gamble or something. But we're like, well, that was pretty good because we're getting in. It's like 11 o'clock at night or something. We've been driving all day. We look like hobos because I don't even know if we showered in the morning. We just kind of got up and left. So we've been driving all day. So we get our room. We're like, well, while in Rome, right? So we did go downstairs and do some slots for a little bit. I lost everything I gambled with. I think Jenny went down $7, and it was like, okay, that was fun. I got to go to bed. And so we got up the next morning, and we had a really short drive. We only had about a 3.5-hour drive to Vancouver to drop off the quilt shop's stuff, and then came home. And so Jim had Violet over at Robert and Michael's house. They watched her during the week, so when he went to work, she wasn't just home all day. And I said, I'm going to let you still pick her up. I need to just take a nap. And I just got myself kind of sorted. I didn't have my main suitcase because it was buried in the van. I had 2 suitcases, one with like the majority of my stuff, and one was just to travel. It's got pajamas, a toothbrush, some change of clothes, and that was my travel bag. So I didn't even have laundry to start or anything like that. And I just crashed. And then when she came home, he brought her home. And when she came home, she was so excited and wiggly that I couldn't even pet her. She wanted me to pet her, but she could. Her energy was too much. She was super cute. And he said every weekend when he'd bring her home, she'd run around the house a couple times looking for me. So she was very happy that I was home, which was really sweet. So was Jim. He brought me flowers, and it just felt good to be home. And it took a couple of days of just I'd get some stuff done, and I just got to rest. Now that I can sort of let everything just be off guard, it was tiring. But it's all good. I'm back in the swing of things. I'm inspired to start stuff and do stuff, and it's it was really good. It was really fun. It was a great adventure. I can't wait to do more adventuring, and it was good. So I'm going to now go into things I'm working on, things I've finished, just kind of the projects that were almost finished before I left that I have finished since then because I've been home a week now. And so thank you for sitting through my rambling of a half hour or more because, yeah. So let me do some finished objects things. Last time, if you noticed, and even in my thumbnail, you can tell I had a fall colored little mini quilt, little small quilt. I was given a charm pack and a charm pack is 5-inch squares by however many pieces, usually 30, 20, something like that. And I'm like, well, it's not really enough to do any one thing with, and they're flannel, so it's kind of, you can't, I was thinking, I'll make a table runner or something in fall colors, and I thought, well, but it's flannel, so I don't really want to do that. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make a little kind of a dog blanket, something to throw on the ground that Violet can lay on, if she wants to lay in front of the fireplace or when she wants to sit outside I'll throw something down for her, and she'll lay out in the sun or whatever. So that's what I turned it into. So these were just 5-inch squares, and I made half square triangles and just put them together. I had them all laid out so that I didn't have colors close together, and I think when I put it together I messed it up, and it doesn't really matter because Violet doesn't care and probably can't see half of these colors. So I thought, well, on the back I don't want something that's gonna pick up dirt or twigs or leaves or whatever. And so I had some denim squares, actually cut from jeans. I had made a quilt for a friend of mine that used her husband's jeans, and I had leftover squares. So I put the denim on the back, just sewed the 6-inch squares together, made it big enough to quilt. I just did straight lines on all the vertical and horizontal lines, put some batting with it, did a binding, machine bound it, and it's good to go for a little dog throw blanket on the ground outside kind of a thing. So that's finished. I mean, that took me way too long for as simple as it was. It was just a matter of having the time to do it. Back in May, I think it was, but I got a cross stitch pattern to make for my friend who was starting to put together her craft room. And I think it's mostly done, but I think she's maybe got a few things to do, but I wanted to do something that she would hang in her craft room, and I finished it. I'm going to give it to her on Sunday. She's coming over, and I did this cross stitch. So this is called Luna Moth, and it's by X Stitch Pattern X on Etsy. I will put a link below. She is out of the Ukraine, so I'm not sure. I mean, it's PDF, so you can still buy stuff. She has some really cool patterns, but I love it. I just love the way it turned out. I got this hoop from Amazon. Came in a set of 3, and this outside part is like rubbery, and it comes with this little hanger deal, and so she just has to pound a pin in the wall or a nail or whatever, and she can hang it. I traced the inside ring onto some felt. This is just acrylic felt, and then I just stitched it on, and I stitched it to the cross stitch fabric. I dyed this fabric gray. It was white, and I dyed it. I was trying to get kind of a teal color, but it just turned out gray. But I think it's good. It needed to be on something darker. So I'm excited to give it to her. It's not for any like holiday, birthday or anything. I was just doing it because I wanted her to have something from me in her craft room. So that was fun. I did really like working on that. Another thing I'm working on, when I was at the show with my friend Jenny, who's Lamb Farm Designs, link to her shop down below, she started to incorporate wool applique patterns to her patterns that she designs. And a lot of people would be like, oh, I don't do wool, because they're in a warm climate. Like, they don't think of it. It's like, well, you're not wearing it. You're just like, you're just appliquing with it, which wool applique is really fun because it's felted wool that's been dyed, and you cut whatever your shape. It doesn't fray. You don't have to turn an edge under. You just like stick it on and stitch it, and it's really cute. And I said, well, I was telling people, I'm like, well, you could do it out of fabric. You're just using the pattern. Like, if you like whatever this design is and you don't do wool, do it out of fabric. So I told her, I said, let me make something out of fabric, one of your wool patterns. So I said, pick whichever one you want me to do. So she picked this one, and it's called Cottage Charm, and it's a window with a chicken on it and little shutters, and she made it into a pillow. And she goes, yeah, why don't you do that, and then I'll put it in a frame, and that way she can show people when she goes to other shows, like, you can do this out of fabric. She also had for festival just little scrap bags of fabric, like when she's made something and like whatever was kind of left over. Sometimes people just need little bits more of something, and so she gave me a couple of those, said, here, do something with that. I also added some fabric from myself. I'm still working on it, but this is the pattern. So this is the curtain, shutters, they've got the rocks, a little chicken, and so I am machine appliquing it so you can see the back. And I use a stabilizer, so this is called Rinse Away, and it's a paper stabilizer. I will pull it, but if you did leave some in, it just dissolves when you wash it and stuff. So I'm just doing a tiny zigzag around everything, and then we'll put a little bead for his eye. So I am working on that. I'm close to being done. I got to do the curtains, and then this is like flowers coming out of this picture. So this will have embroidery that connects these flowers. And then I'll do something in here to give like stems to the flowers. And then there's leaves. There's tiny little leaves that I have cut out, but I want to wait till I'm all done. So you can see the leaves right there, which have been flying all over the place. Every time I set something down, they go poof. So I may have to cut out some more leaves. So anyway, I've been working on this. That's been kind of fun because I haven't done a lot of machine applique. It's not generally my style, but it's a quick way to do something like this. This is stiff now because I've got this paper attached, but I'll pull all that away and it'll be just fine. So I used some Heat and Bond light that I had. I had never used it before, but I had it. I don't know why I didn't use it. I don't know why I have it. And it worked great. So that's still got to get done, which it will. I'm on it. And then something that showed up right before I left was a kit for a pretty impressive quilt. I think I showed a picture of it on Instagram, and I got a kit from Legit Kits. Now, Legit Kits is a company that makes the most amazing paper pieced patterns. They've got some really cool ones. And I've always kind of wanted, like, oh, I really want to do one. And they're not cheap, but... And I think, what do I do with that? Blah, blah, blah. And then a friend of mine and I saw a new one they did of the Starry Night. And I'm like, I got to get it. So I did it as a pre-order, and it came like right before I left. And so all I did was kind of open it to see what came with it. And I can understand why they're the price that they are. They put a ton of work into it. So you get this. These are all the pieces. This is the color chart of all the pieces that I'm going to do. And then you get color cards, so you have numbers of all the colors that you're going to use. Then you have this guide, which is an assembly guide. So you've got a stack of that. And then you've got the paper that you actually sew to for everything. So that's that. And then you get, I think this had 106, 105 different colors of fabric. And so they're all, get a sticker, they're all labeled with like the code number of what the color is. And, a big enough piece to use for wherever you got to use it. And then like an instruction sheet of how to do paper piecing. So this is not a quick pattern, and they send you this. I think that's hysterical because you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? They were there at market and at festival, and I talked to the guy that's the owner of it, and I said, I just got my first pattern. I'm going to do the Starry Night. And he goes, well, you picked a hard one for your first one. I'm like, hey, go big or go home, right? So, you just take it piece by piece, and what I'm going to do is start up here. You can see the pieces are a little bit bigger, a little bit further apart. And I'm going to start where the pieces are bigger, and you sort of get in your groove. And then by the time you get down here where the pieces are teeny, teeny, tiny, I'll have a lot under my belt. This makes a 30 by 40 quilt. And I think it's going to be cool when I get it done. Like I said, this is a long-term project. And then I was hesitant because I'm like, I have Violet Craft's Lion partially done, like 2/3 of the way done. And I kind of lost steam on that. I worked on that forever. And I should get back to doing it. Part of what holds me back is like when it's done, it's like a 60-inch square of this lion. Like, what am I going to do with that? So I don't have the incentive, I guess, to finish it, but I'm going to work on this one. Like, whatever, work on what brings you joy, right? Same thing goes with knitting and whatever. So I lost like 3 weeks of like Christmas prep, holiday prep, and I had all these ideas. I'm going to make all these gifts, and I don't know that I have time now. So that kind of like, now I'm like, oh crap, now I got to shop. But Thanksgiving is next week here in the States, and I am going to make dinner. My parents will come over. Robert and Michael will come over, and then I'll make dinner. I don't do anything fancy, and that's okay because it's not about that. And, non-fancy tastes just as good. So we'll do that, and then, Christmas is upon us, and it's all that stuff. So we're in the season. 'Tis the season. Although this morning, went to go get my haircut, and there was Christmas music, and I'm like, too soon. Too soon. I don't like it before the 1st of December. Like December 1st starts Christmas season for me. Not Halloween, not before Halloween. It's like, we need to wait till Christmas. So I will put some more photos and stuff of some stuff I saw at the quilt show. And thank you so much for like hanging out with me during this. And it will be, I don't know what it'll be. It'll be what it'll be. I'll be back when I'm back. So happy Thanksgiving to those of you that are going to get together with family. And for me, it's just a time to be with people that you love and be thankful for who is in your life. And I thank all of you for being here and supporting me with your kind comments, with watching, liking, subscribing. Like, I appreciate all of it, and thank you so much. I hope my mic was okay. I forgot to say something in the beginning because my mic died. I was filming Jenny doing some tutorials, and she got up and walked away with it stuck to her, and it like pulled the wires and did something screwy, and I forgot that I was going to get a new one when I came back. Went to record yesterday and it didn't work. So hopefully this one sounds fine. It's a cheapo one. I'm going to see what Black Friday has, and maybe I'll get something a little nicer. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you. Love to you all. Please love on everybody around you, and I will see you next time. Bye.